Hello, folks. So I'm going to do a video review of this particular tool, which might interest some that are looking at gazing at the Horotec version of that. This is pretty much copying for a fraction of the price. The Horotec tool on Esslinger right now, I just checked, the price is about $400 plus shipping and taxes you're going to pay. So it's a pricey proposition for a home hobbyist watchmaker. And so, eyeballing that up, I decided to buy the cheapest Chinese knockoff bezel remover. I'd say it's a knockoff because it looks like it's trying to clone the Horotec because the color is similar and the design is very similar. But I think for the most part, many of them are kind of the same concept. Some will have just like a point. I haven't looked at the Bergeon one offering, but the Horotec one seems to be the one that is very commonly used in the professional watch community that I've seen. At least I've seen. I'm not sure. I'll bet you even Rolex makes one of these. I think they do, and it's green. And I think at one time they made these, and it might be a Bergeon rebranded Rolex. Maybe they make them for, or did make them for that. But I've seen them, double, triple that if they're on eBay. $1,200, which is, just insane for the watch home hobbyist looking to be able to get into this hobby affordably and get tools that, especially specialty tools like this, which is going to be for removing bezel rings. And I'm going to do a demo, and I already started it, so I'm going to show you on this particular case. You can see I already started it, and so I'm not going to try to steer anybody wrong. I'm going to point out the flaws that I see, but keep in mind that, like I said, the Horotec one is $400 plus tax and shipping from Esslinger, which is probably a very good price. I'll bet you if you look elsewhere, it's going to be a little bit more pricey because Esslinger usually has about the best prices out there, or some of the best prices for most of the stuff they sell. That's why I always use Esslinger as my go-to, and Jules Boral and Otto free. And I use, a couple other of those houses, Star Time Supply. I always shop and compare them all. So McGraw-Hill, I think it is. I can't remember that one. It's in England. But I don't order from there because shipping is too expensive or it takes too long to get to me. So for what I need sometimes. So getting back on subject here, this is what is used to remove it would be in a typical scenario, you'd use it to pull off a pressed on bezel, like for a date just, or you would use it to remove the, like on a Rolex, you'd have a crystal retaining ring on a lot of the Rolex models that, like this one, there's your retaining ring that presses over the crystal. I did try it on this one. This one's more of a pain in the neck. But I'm just going to cover it on this particular case right here, which is, like I said, another typical scenario you use it for. And so what you need with these to work correctly is you need, in my opinion, the heights of these to be pretty much the same. And the difference between this and the Horotec one is that the Horotec has a bridge, like on the right-hand side, it has a stable to stabilize the whole structure. It has a similar bridge to hold up the other ends of the pins here that this slides on, which this one does not. And these are tightly pressed in, and they're not uneven on either side, so you don't get like a shift in this block where these blades are on. That would be making it off where it wouldn't line up correctly on the case. So if you look at it, it's pretty much flat across. They did a pretty good, it's pretty well aligned up, which is, some of the first things. You can see it's just a tad bit lower, but it's not enough to cause issue as far as removing the rings and bezels off watches or its intended purpose. So when I got it, I cleaned it up. It really wasn't dirty, but I cleaned it up and I put some Sil Glide automotive. It's used mainly in the automotive field for like the sliding pins on brake calipers, but I just bought a fresh tube of Sil Glide and I put some against the face of the turning knob here because when I turned it, it was chattering, so it just needed a little bit of grease there to keep it. No, it's very smooth. I put a little bit into the threads and some on the threads here and some on the pins. So The action is very, it feels quality. It doesn't feel like it's cheap. It feels good, and it's got a nice resistance to it, but it's smooth. It's what you'd think you would expect in something that's decently put together. So there's not a lot of wiggle here. If you look where these were bored out to slide over the pins, another potential problem if these are overbored, you can get a lot of shifting. There's just a little bit of wiggle, but not much, just enough to clear the pins. The one problem I did have on this block is that when I got it, I took everything off and I kind of cleaned it up and polished it up a little bit, and deburred the edges with a file because they're kind of raw cut. And when I took the screws out and put it back, they were a little bit, I wouldn't say loose, but they're just barely snug. So when I tightened them down fully, which gave maybe a half more turn or a quarter more turn, the screw head actually started interfering with the slide pin. So I had to take these two outer ones, and I took them to my bench grinder and just ground them down just maybe, just a tiny bit smaller to accommodate when they're fully seated, holding these blades down, that they're not interfering with the slide pin. So that was an easy, you could take a file to that, but that's one potential problem you might have. I don't know why they didn't just make the screws smaller, but again, we're talking, these are made at a price, at a very inexpensive price, so you're going to have possible issues out of the gate, right out of the box. So the other problem I have with it, and from the pictures, I don't own a Horotec one, the Horotec version, but these blades probably need to be flatly ground flat. What I'm seeing here is, if you look, these taper down a little bit. If you look, I don't know, very slightly tapered down. Now, I'm not sure why they did that in the cut, but if you look, they're just slightly tapered down, which could be a problem because, in my opinion, and please correct me if I'm wrong, if anybody knows different, you'd want these completely ground flat. So when you put this case in, the flat surface is butted up against the bottom or the lug of the case, and for this example, and it's against the bezel, which, again, before I shot the video, I didn't take a blade, which I normally would use a razor blade, like I said, I think I said that, to take and start opening this up, and then I would use like maybe the Bezel case opener knife and start working my way around. And usually I can do it pretty well with that, but this is kind of the proper tool you'd want to use if you want to do it in watchmaking. So I'm going to do an example. I'll just show you how it's done. But like I said, I did start this one off camera just to make sure that it was working, because I want to give you an accurate description and the ability for it to do its job as removing these. So what you do is if you haven't used one of these before, you'd want to get it the top of the surface of these blades actually against the case, and as you tighten it, you want to make sure you just want to keep eyeballing all sides to make sure that that it's underneath. Or when I first started it, it was right at the gap, right where there's just a tiny little bit of gap. You couldn't even probably see it with your eye, but as I keep doing it, the tapering of the bottom blade kind of spreads it apart if you look at how they're cut. So as you tighten it, I'll wait for the camera, my Samsung camera, there we go. So as I tighten it, you could see the action. I'm not really putting a lot. Now it's getting a little bit firm. So what I would do in this case is I'd probably move it around a little bit as I'm working this off, but as you can see, it is working it off. Now, I'm not sure, again, I don't have the Horotec one for $400. I'm not going to go out and buy that one because I don't take enough of these off, or haven't. And if there's ever a future need where I'm like doing a lot of these, maybe I could justify that cost. But for me, this seems to be a good fit. So even at this point, I'm so used to doing it the old school manual way. I would just take my knife, my Bezel knife, or a pocket, any kind of watchmaker knife, and I would just continue. I would put some tape, protective tape, and just continue to work it off. And it pretty much demonstrates that it does work. It does work, but to me, it's a little fidgety. And it may just be because I'm used to doing it the manual old-fashioned ways with a razor blade and a knife. So I'll just have to get used to using it. But in my opinion, it is a useful tool that may need some TLC out of the box. And it didn't arrive perfect. It had some dings. And you can get this in two colors. You can order it Ironically, they charge a little bit more for its raw color, which I think is just blasted aluminum, because this is all aluminum here. I think it's just the aluminum color. I don't know if they painted, or I can't tell by the picture, excuse me, if they anodize it aluminum, or if it's just left raw aluminum with maybe a coating on it. I'm not sure, but take it for what it is. For $25, $26 shipped, I think it is a useful tool that will do its job, but I don't know if you can rely on it for everything. And maybe as I get used to it, maybe I'll take those blades off, and maybe I'll flatten those out a little bit more, and maybe remove the taper. Let's see if my camera... I don't like that taper. That's the only thing that bugs me. And it may, your mileage may vary depending on, you can order 10 of these. They might all be a little bit different, because that's just what you get when you order these type of tools from, and I hate to say it, from China. And being inexpensive, is QC is not 100%. Like it would be on the $400 Horotec one. You're not going to get the same QC and quality of tool, but it is a useful tool, and I would probably give it a C plus. Maybe raising it to a B or a B minus with a little bit of maybe deburring and some flattening of those top of those blades. I think it's a pretty useful tool for adding to your tool collection. So if you like the video, please subscribe. I'm going to do some more inexpensive tools, alternative tools for watchmaking hobbyists, without breaking the bank, and maybe we'll find some jewels in the rough. I think this is a potential jewel in the rough. I just think it needs a little bit of a little TLC out of the box, so to make it work a little bit better. Definitely, when you get it out of the box, you want to lube it up a little bit, put any kind of grease on there, and just kind of clean it up a little bit. It wasn't totally dirty, but it wasn't as clean as you would think would like. So. Again, if you like the video, please subscribe and stay tuned. I'm going to be doing some more inexpensive tools for watchmaking. Okay, thanks.